Oh, we'll do that. All right. Hey, girl.
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Hey. Good. So today I have the millennial sex expert, right? I said that right?
Yep, millennial expert.
Expert. There we go. And so we're talking about fingering. So I saw on Instagram, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw that she teaches a fingering one-on-one class. And I was like, that sounds interesting. So let's talk about that because I hear a lot. Well, first of all, before we do that, introduce yourself. Tell people where they can find you before I get started. I'll get carried away. Go ahead.
I'm Javeda Bay. I am a sex educator, pleasure professional, and content creator. You can find me on social media at Millennial Sexpert, millennial spelled with 2 L's and 2 N's, in case you don't know. And then I'm on YouTube if you search Javeda Bay, and I have a website, themillennialsexpert.com.
Okay, cool. So make sure y'all follow her. Okay, so like I said, we were talking. Realized that she teaches a class on fingering. So I hear a lot about people talking about, oh, fingering is very juvenile. Who do that? We still doing fingering, and I am damn near 40. I'll be 38 in a few months, and I like getting fingered. Right? I think fingered is great.
Yes.
Fingered is great foreplay. So when I hear people do that, when I hear people say like they don't like fingering and fingering like something we did in high school, I'm like, well, I don't think you're having it done correctly.
No, not at all.
Right, it's great. So I want you to tell us, one, why we should incorporate fingering in our lives, and then ways to do it correctly.
Okay. Well, one, we should be doing it because it's not juvenile. It's not this high school thing, because let's be real. None of us were fingered well in high school. Like half the time people wasn't trimming their fingernails. Like no one knew, they were just shoving fingers up and like doing stuff. Now I would hope as adults, like there's a better understanding of anatomy. So we actually know how to stimulate and like offer pleasure. And like, why would you want to cut out a whole activity that you can do? Also, it's the most versatile activity. You can do it anywhere. People don't even know you're doing it. You could be fingered while driving. You could be fingered in the movie theater. Like you can be fingered anywhere. All you need is summer dress, like sundress season, and a partner with some fingers, and you're good to go.
Let me tell you this true story. So I was in high school, right? And we were on a field trip. And my friend was behind me, right? And like her boyfriend was fingering her because I could hear them. I was like, well, damn, they having a good time. We'll take the bus. I forgot where we were coming from. Yeah, we were coming on a bus. And we were in high school. I was like, I don't know, 16 at the time. And they were having a good time. So fingering, you can literally you can finger anywhere.
Yes. And so everyone, I'm like, you shouldn't take it out of like your repertoire of like a good sexual evening. Because like, first of all, fingering is a good like way to actually get the body aroused, because everyone knows that when it comes to people with vulvas, like it takes like a good amount of time for the body to actually be in a place where like it'll be good sex. If you just like rush into it and you're like, I'm just shoving things in like my penis or a dildo without anything beforehand, like the body was not in an aroused state, it's not going to be pleasurable. It's going to hurt. But fingering is a great way to actually do it, where you're like, okay, I would like to stick things in you, but I know that if I shove like a circumference of like 6 inches inside of you, it's not going to be a good time. But my one little index finger, that's going to do real good at actually getting you aroused, and your body's like, oh wait, we can do more.
And what I found is, particularly with penis owners that have that are very girthy, fingering is a very good prep activity.
It really is, because sometimes you do the first dates, you're like, okay, this is gonna be good. I know they probably like got a good little thing down there and it's gonna be a good time. And then you see, you're like, sir, I did not masturbate before this trip. I was not ready for you to come at me with that King Kong dick. Like, no, like you need, and like fingering is the warm up to actually like get you ready for your body to be stretched to like take the soda can that he got in his pants. So yes, you should finger, but also fingering is a good way to actually figure out the vulva, the vagina that you're about to go into. Because let's be real, though a lot of people are like, yeah, I know where the G spot is. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. So if you finger, you can actually be like, oh, okay, I can tell where it is now. I know what to do. I know how to play this game. you can actually understand, because also it's probably a new partner. That's how you can better learn your partner's body, because you don't have control over your dick in the way that you have control over your fingers to like really feel everything. You're just like, I'm in it, yeah, but your fingers like, I'm in it. Oh, look at that tightness in that. Oh, look at the grab. You can actually feel everything happening. That's why fingering is like, no, you don't discredit it. That is how you actually become better in bed. You finger people and you learn their bodies and you understand like what feels good to them. If they're like, no, you don't have to go that deep, like actually just like staying right there, like the entrance of the vagina and stimulate me there. That's the sweet spot, baby. You want me to cry? You want me to scream your name? Do that. But if you just go on with a dick, you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna put the whole thing in and it's gonna be good. And you're like, or you could tease me and just use the tip, and then it'll be a good thing. So fingering's good. And like how to actually do it. First things first, clip your fingernails. The amount of horror stories I have because men do not clip their fingernails it's scary. It's horrendous. Like I should have never potentially had to go to the hospital because a man did not clip his fingernails. But I did.
Really?
Yes. Some man in LA, I like went over, he starts fingering me. He takes his fingers out and he's like, oh, you're bleeding. And I was like, I'm bleeding, mind you. I knew it wasn't a period. Homegirl had an IUD. We don't get those. So I was like, what do you mean I'm bleeding? I like get up and as I'm walking, like it's a trail of blood. This man nicked me inside my vagina with his fingernail. And I was bleeding so much that I was like, do I go to the hospital? Can you get stitches in your vagina? I was like, oh my God, this is the end of me. Luckily, my friend was like, no, don't go to the hospital. They will not stitch up the inside of your vagina. Just like, give it a minute. It'll heal itself. And I was like, all because a motherfucker did not cut his fingernails. So clip your fingernails.
So do you think that, because I know people can buy finger cots, and most people probably don't know what finger cots are. So finger cots are basically condoms for your fingers. They're little small condoms that you put on your finger. They don't sell those in stores. No,
I've seen them. Well, some stores do, but they're like more so like marketed for people that work in like the food industry, because like you put them on if you like were to get a cut. So honestly, if you're like really looking for them, like go to like a food restaurant store, they would probably have them stocked up there. But outside of that, Amazon is the only other place that I found them.
Okay, so do you suggest people use those?
For safer sex, absolutely. Because one, you know, like also like you just never know. Like if you have cuts on your fingers, like you don't want to open wound because sexually transmitted fluids can lead to STI. So like just being like safer sex practices. Yes, if you're like, I'm a finger you, using a finger cot or latex gloves are like my two recommendations for safer sex practices.
I didn't even think about the glove thing. That makes sense. I didn't think about, and then also I think that with latex gloves, even if nails are not as short, that can do that too.
Yeah, it offers a little bit more cushion so that way you're not like actually scratching somebody up. But also they're really great because if you are actually using lube, it's not going to dry out as fast. If you put like silicone lube on a latex glove, it's going to last a lot longer. You can actually enjoy the experience. Whereas if you're like, I'm just going to put silicone lube on my fingers and go for it, it will dry up quicker than on a glove because your skin absorbs it if it's a good silicone lube. Like Uber Lube, I use that as moisturizer.
I love Uber Lube.
Yes.
I love them.
So like that's a good way, using gloves. Also, it makes it a lot easier if you're like not wanting to make a mess. You can do that. If you're like, I know that I'm like a fingering goat, like every time I do a girl squirt, like if you're like, I don't want to be soaked in things, latex gloves offer you a little bit more from like getting that on your hands. I can't make any promises for the rest.
And oh, excuse me, hold up.
Bless you.
Oh Lord, sorry. And also for the kinky people, I can see using a glove, like if a person is like menstruating.
Yes.
You know, because some people are into that, and you may don't want that on your hand. You can use a latex glove for it.
Yes. Also, because I'm like, okay, so you don't want to have like period sex. You could still. People are hornier on their fucking period. So why would you take it off people? Like use a latex glove, finger them, rock their world, and they'll be like, fuck, I love you. And you didn't have to like break out a towel and really get messy with things. Like you still got to have some sexual activity without having to do the whole thing if you were still like not ready to get your wings, you know? Like there's ways to do it. And fingering is that way. The best way, honestly. If you're like, I'm not ready yet for period sex. Okay, well then what's period finger?
let's pure the finger. You have a glove on. Let's do that.
Yes.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, no, I was also gonna say, like, we also shouldn't discredit fingering because everybody talks about how like they want to make people squirt. You're like, oh, it make you squirt so much. And blah. The true way that you make people squirt if they're not a porn star is from fingering. It is very rare that your dick going inside a vagina is going to make somebody squirt. But
Correct.
you fingering and doing it well and knowing how to stimulate the right parts, that can get somebody to be a freaking geyser. Like, fuck Yellowstone or wherever that thing is. Like, fingering can make it happen.
Because every time that I've squirted, it was through fingering and manual stimulation of the G-spot.
Yeah.
I have a few, well, not every time. I have very rare instances that it happened like during oral sex, and I think like once it happened during penetration, but those are like one-offs. So,
Yeah.
but every other 90% of the other times were through manually hand stimulation. So
Yeah. That's why I'm like, why are y'all saying you don't want to finger? If you keep talking about how you're like so good that you can make somebody squirt, but you're not fingering, you're not making anybody squirt. They're peeing on you. Deliberately peeing on you.
Survey says that's a lie. You're not.
Truly.
You're not. So how would you suggest, okay, so this is my first time if I'm whatever age, right? And I've never done it. So how would somebody do it to like their first time? How should they prepare? If there's anything to prepare for.
Yes. So to prepare, obviously, like, have a conversation with your partner. That is always the first step. Like, you want to talk to them because even though fingering is amazing and we love it, we don't randomly just want your fingers inside of us. So consent, having that communication conversation, like, hey, I really want to offer you pleasure and I want to focus solely on you. And I want to give you my undivided attention and I want to hear the pleasure that I'm giving you. I would like to finger you. Start off letting them know I want to rock your world with just my fingers. And then obviously clipping your fingernails, washing your hands. Please always wash your hands for any type of sexual activity, but especially if you were putting your fingers inside of a vagina, you need to wash your hands because I swear to you, you were touching a lot of stuff throughout the day and don't nobody need those germs and bacteria in their vagina.
Because the vagina is already sensitive as is, like any little thing can throw us off. I know I was talking to people and I was telling them how the sperm can throw you off. People who even like spit from oral sex, can throw your pH off, and now you have BV, right? You have bacterial vaginosis.
Yes.
Spit. Like our vaginas are hella sensitive, so please wash your hands.
Yes, wash your hands and then bring your lube. Like, have the lube. As much as you're like, I can just like put my fingers in my mouth and like no, bring the lube. Just have the lube on hand. Honestly, if you don't just have like a travel size lube with you always, like, be prepared. Come on, we're adults. You need to have lube on you 24/7. But so gather your materials. Y'all are in whatever setting it is that y'all decided you're gonna do this. And don't just think it's like I'm diving straight into the vagina. No, you are massaging. You're massaging the inner thighs. You are kissing them while you are exploring down there without going in. And before you even go in, you are stimulating the clitoris. Like, you gotta ring the doorbell before you go in. You don't just get to decide that you walking into somebody's house. Okay, well, white people do that all the time.
They do. So fingering is not just hand inside vagina.
Yes.
Okay.
No, yes, it is not.
Okay. So it involves using the whole vulva.
The entirety of the vulva.
Okay. So explain how that will look or how that works.
So like, as you're like warming up by like caressing their inner thigh, you're moving up, you're caressing like the outer labia and like massaging that and getting them all tingly and they're like, ooh, and like teasing them because they're like, oh, it's about to go down. This feels good. You're doing all of that. Then you move to the inner labia, which is actually like extremely sensitive. And like, that's where you really get the waterworks to like lead to like the natural lubrication of the vagina. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna just like massage your inner labia until like you're just like, could you please fucking do something? Like, that is where you're really building up a lot of the memento, because very rarely do we spend time stimulating the inner labia outside of like when we're masturbating by ourselves. Like, very few partners unless like your partner, unless you're lesbians or like queer, very few partners pay attention to the inner labia. They're just like, yeah, lips, whatever, spread them.
Right.
No, those lips have nerves. Those lips also can stimulate the inner aspects of the clitoris. So if you actually take your time to arouse that, you will feel that blood flow rush into all parts of the clitoris. And you're like, oh, I got a lot to play with. And then you work up your way to the clitoris and you are stimulating in all the different ways. You're going in little circles, you're rubbing up and down, but you're being gentle. This is not like a wiggity, wiggity, wiggity situation. It's like a, oh yeah, like gentle, like it is like something you don't want to break. I don't have an example because I'm like, what do you not want to break? But like very gentle, unless your partner then is like, put some more pressure. Then you're gonna put more pressure, but like, don't come out the gate being like,
Yeah, because it doesn't feel good. Like we just gently caress it, what, 1 or 2 fingers, like a massage, like gently massage it. We don't need all of the, all the DJing. It doesn't feel good.
It does not, especially because as we're getting more aroused, more blood is flowing to the area, which makes us more sensitive. Like you don't need more pressure as people get more sensitive. You're like, wait, I can't take anymore. Like that's too much because I'm so sensitive. So like, be gentle.
And this is what I hate. And this is why I'm glad you said pay attention to the whole vulva, because this is me personally, and everybody's different, right? I personally hate when I have a partner and all they want to touch is the clitoris. Like there's the whole vulva, right? It all has sensation and nerve ending and it feels good. Like, yes, the clitoris is the sweet spot, right? But for me, it's hella sensitive. And when you just focus on that, now it hurts. And you're leaving out all of the other parts of it.
Yes. The whole point is to actually explore all the nooks and crannies. Like the clitoris literally is like probably like the brownie and like a brownie sundae. Like, yeah, we love it. We can't wait to get to it, but you got to get through all the rest. So like treat the inner and outer labia as like the actual ice cream. Treat like the space in between the urethra and the vaginal opening as like the caramel. Like you pay attention to that too, because it sits right in between 2 sensitive areas that can also create so much pleasure. Like there's so many different ways that you can offer your partner pleasure that they probably have never experienced, because let's be real. 1, people think fingering stupid. 2, people just like don't understand the anatomy of the vulva. So they're like, okay, I got the clitoris and a hole and that's all I pay attention to. No, if you actually gave attention to all those other areas, I promise you somebody's gonna be rolling around on that bed, like screaming out for Jesus, Allah, Hecate, every other deity they freaking know. They're gonna be screaming their name because they're gonna be like, I have never had someone stimulate all of me in such an arousing way. Like I promise you. All of it. And then after you done work them up so much just from the outside, then you can make your way inside. Then open that door, go right inside, but like take it slow. Start off just at like the opening, really like paying attention to that, because also that's again a bunch of nerves are there, so you really feel things. That's why like sometimes people can like get aroused or find sexual pleasure putting in a tampon and things that nature, because of that opening and how much pleasure you felt there. It's like take your time there, really like play with it, like tease them, be like, oh, you want me to go all the way? I'm not gonna go all the way in. I'm just gonna play with you right here. I'm just gonna stay right here for a little bit.
Listen,
take it.
Listen, they'll be like, oh,
Yes.
I also have found that fingering during oral is like the best thing ever.
If you're not putting your fingers in while you eat my pussy, get out. Like I'm literally gonna kick you out. Like what is this? What is this? No.
Yeah, that is incorporating that during oral sex is like the best thing ever. Do you know, like, so what are some other like positions? Do you talk about positions with fingering?
Yes. Okay. So generally, like a lot of people are thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna do it. Like you're gonna be laying down and I'm gonna do it. No, there's so many different ways, especially if you like incorporate toys. Like I love it if you were fingering somebody like in doggy style and you have both your hands available to you that you can push on them. So like you're fingering them with one hand, your other hand is like pushing on their mons pubis to offer even more pressure. Or if you're like, I'm a pro, like I break out the sex toys, you got a womanizer on their clit, like doing the suction because you're like already back there and you're playing with them. You got a thumb about to enter the booty hole. Like you are playing with everything available. Like I'm a big fan of in doggy style. Also, like if you're like for the intimacy, I love it when someone's like, if you sit on someone's lap and they're fingering you, so like you're facing each other and you're sitting on top of them and they are fingering you and you're just like having a hot makeout session and just like going to town. Like there are so many ways to kick it up a notch, because if you're just like offering so much more than just like, here's my fingers, but like, here's my fingers, and I'm like tonguing you down, like we're like in 8th grade and like this is our first makeout session ever, and like really just like rekindling that youth vibe that everybody's chasing. Like there are so many different ways, but also just like being creative on your own. Just be like, okay, what different ways can I like bend you over and rock your fucking world that you've never thought about with just my fingers, not my dick, not a toy, like just my hands. Like let me show you what I can do in all these different ways. Like I encourage creativity, especially because like thinking about different bodies. Like for a lot of people like me, like laying just like on my back being fingered is probably not gonna feel the best. One, I got big tits. All I'm feeling is being smothered by my tits being all up in my face. I laid down and recorded TikTok and I was like, oh my God, I have no neck because my tits. I have to sit up. Like take into account your partner's body, because I can't be in the zone if I'm just like, man, I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
So think about that.
I don't have big titties, so like I never thought about that. All my tits are small, but I do like the idea of doing it doggy style. I never tried that, but I think I might try that.
Yes,
That sounds like a good time.
it is.
I never tried that. I was sitting here thinking, and especially with the use of a toy on the clitoris, because like technically, if it's doggy style, I can use the toy, right, on the clitoris, and they can be doing the fingering thing. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, also using restraints also can kick it up a notch. I love it. Like we have like obviously in our bedroom has the full setup, so we have like the bed restraints always available. Putting somebody in that, if you're doing the full shebang and you're like, I'm going to stimulate outer labia, inner labia, the space in between the urethra and the vagina, like I'm stimulating all of you while they are completely like spread out, like whatever this is called, in an X shape, and they can't move. They just have to take all of the pleasure. Like it adds a whole new level when you're just like squirming around and you can't even like roll over to get away. You're just like, fuck, I can't go anywhere. Throw some restraint in there and you'll be like, oh shit, you were right. Also, it's like great because if you're ever like, I want to do a quickie, but you're like, I don't have time to like get hard, but I still want to do something. Fingering is a great quickie. Tie them up. Finger them so they cannot get away and be like, okay, well, that was a good 15 minutes. Time to go to work. Bye. Leave them wanting more.
I love being tied up. I think being tied up is just adds that extra something to like sex. I love it. I love the fact that someone has control and I just have to sit there.
Yes. Also, it's like really good in the sense of like not having to like put too much more work on your muscles. Like as long as nothing's like too tight, like you're pretty relaxed. Your body is already in a state to just be like, okay, yeah, I don't have to do the work of holding things. And then your body's like, we're just focusing on what's happening here. Oh, like it is amazing.
It is. So what other tips do you have?
My other tips are to not be afraid of like the areas that you may not think of like regularly. Like obviously you have the entirety of the vulva, but like as I said, you can like apply pressure to like the mons pubis, like which is the area where like
explain what that is.
Hair really grows. So like standing, like looking at a body, like in the sense of like me looking down. So you like have your belly and then like the first like triangular patch where you would get like a Brazilian or bikini wax. That's the mons pubis area. So applying pressure to there can also offer some stimulation. Also, like it's highly sensitive. Like if you just like gently like blow on or drag your fingers across the top of the mons pubis, like playing with somebody's like underwear line, like for me, that sends shivers through me. If someone just comes up and gently caresses like my mons, I'm like, oh, stop. Like trying to get me pregnant, what you doing? So like explore areas that you typically wouldn't, like the inner creases of the thighs, like all of the places that you're like, why? Because it can feel good. It can feel great. And then also incorporating like fingering the anus. Like the anus can also be fingered. And it also is a pleasure center. Also
feels
like
good.
it feels really good. And also like for this in the case of people born with a prostate, it's amazing because the prostate is essentially the male G spot. So finger in the ass is that it's the reverse. Like men can feel what we feel having our vulvas fingered and played with. They can feel that with their ass. And it's like, yeah. And it's a whole new world because most men have never had their prostate stimulated because butt stuff's gay.
Yeah, can't do that.
It's pleasure gay. I didn't know it was gay to have orgasms. My bad. I'm gay.
And this, I date white men. I date black men. I hear that from black men. You put nothing in my ass. I'm like, oh God.
I'm just like, seriously, really? Are you worried that people think you get? Look at these tits. Ain't nobody worried about you being gay. Ain't nobody worried about you being gay. Also, why do you care what people think about what you do in the bedroom? If you walk around blowing, also, yeah, are you just like going to work? Is that what you talk about around the water cooler? You're like, you know what? I had something in my ass. Like, I don't talk about at work, but that's because this is what I do for work.
Right. Like, who's gonna know? Like, unless you're broadcasting, who's gonna know anyway?
Right? Because I'm like, it's not like y'all give details. Men are very generic with their like telling of stories. They're like, oh shit, yo, we went to town. Me and that bitch was getting down. Like, it was so damn good. Like, she was doing some freaky ass shit. I saw you guys like she was doing some freaky ass shit. Let their minds wander. But like, yeah, like be open to people fingering your butthole and so much more because like the pleasure that you can experience in your ass. Next level.
It is. I as someone who has had good anal sex and bad anal sex, the good experience was it was very good. I didn't, and this is totally off topic, but I didn't think that it was years and years ago. I was in my 20s. Was I in my 20s? I think I was in my 20s. I didn't know that I could enjoy anal sex as much as I did with this particular person. He was an anal sex pro. Like, he loved it.
Which is also like, that's important because most of the people are like, yeah, let's have anal, and they don't know anything about it. They're just like, I'm just gonna put my dick in, and you're like, no. That's not good anal sex. That's terrible anal sex, painful anal sex.
Yeah, like he knew the right position for me to be in. He like guided me, told me how, like, okay, breathe, it was perfect. Like, you are a pro, my dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Versus other people, like, all right, bend over. Like, okay, no.
Right? Like, no, bend over for what?
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, so butt stuff, big fan. And fingering is also, if you're ever like, I don't know if butt stuff's gonna be for me, fingering is a way to figure it out. That's honestly the best way to learn if like you even may be open to like actual penile penetrative anal sex is from fingering. If you're like, okay, I actually understand like how to loosen up my anus and like work those muscles, the sphincter muscles in your butthole to actually allow something to come in, because it's not made for things to come in. Like, things come out of the butthole, but like you have to put in some work for things to go in. But when you do, it can feel mind-boggling because you like take your time to do it, because the anus has two sphincters, and sphincters are muscles. So just like you have to like prepare your legs to go run a marathon or like to go lift weights at the gym, you have to prepare your butthole to like open and close to actually take things inside of it. And so as you take your time, like with fingering, you're really like, holy shit, I did not know that like I could be this relaxed and my butthole could be so open, and like I didn't know that I could feel this much stuff. I thought I could only feel pain from like those really hard poos, but like no, you can feel pleasure from like some really good like caressing of your butthole and then gently sliding in, which is also why like the lube is important. Latex gloves also really help, I feel like, with anal fingering, just because it's already like a smoother surface to glide in and out. But like, please don't forget the lube if you're going to do anal fingering, because the anus is not self-lubricating like the vagina. There will be no juices at all, and if there are juices, you probably should not be engaging in anal play right now. Bring the lube, have so much lube, and like take it slow. Like literally, I always say start off with one finger, literally only one finger, and until you were like so relaxed that you could probably like fall asleep from like how zenned out and like good you're feeling, then you can move up fingers. But like, don't think, okay, well, we did one, I put it in like 4 or 5 times, like I can obviously move up. No, you can't. you really take it. If you're gonna do anal fingering, like you need to schedule a night. Like you're like, we're gonna have some anal play tonight. We ate dinner at 6. We're getting started at 9. We already drank our Red Bulls. Like we are ready to stay up for hours, and we're gonna take our time with this because it is not a rushed experience. And if you rush it, you're gonna walk away and be like, I don't like this. I don't want to do anything anal. No, don't rush it. Take your time, work your way through all of your fingers. You don't have to go all the way though to the whole hand. I would not recommend that if you were anal training. Please don't try and fit a whole fist in there. You're not ready. You're not.
Please don't. People who fist, they're very prepared for it. And they've been practicing for a long time. Don't do that.
Yes, a very long time. You are not at that level yet. But like, as long as you like plan out to actually invest a good chunk of time in actually training your anus to be ready to take a lot of things, like you could do it per se in a night if you actually do it well and take your time. Like you could work up to actual penetrative sex in a night. If y'all are really listening to each other and you're actually very relaxed. I think that's also what people forget, is that you have to be relaxed for any type of anal play, especially like penetrative anal play with fingers or penis or a toy. It's not gonna work if you're not relaxed. Just like you can't do shit if you're not relaxed, you will not have a good anal fuck fest without being relaxed. So I don't know if you gotta like smoke some weed, you gotta drink a glass of wine, whatever you gotta do to get relaxed, you gotta get relaxed.
Yeah, that is most important with anal sex, is being relaxed. Like if you clenching up and shit, it ain't gonna work.
Not at all. Your partner will be mad. You're like, you may break my finger. You clenching real tight right now. Please.
This ain't gonna work. I do it all the time. Like you have to be relaxed, and I know it's hard to be relaxed, especially if you already in your mind, so this is gonna hurt, right? It's just a natural reaction that we have to things that we think are going to be painful, is to kind of like, clench up and jump. So you have to psych yourself out or something, but clenching and jumping is not the way to have a good time with butt play.
No, not at all. Just like how they say, if you're like ever about to get in a car accident, like don't tense up, just like be chill, and you won't have as many like broken bones and stuff. Be chill before anal play and you won't have as much pain. Same goes.
That's very hard. I know that's easier said than done, but at least try it. It is easier said than done.
Breathing helps with it. If you're like, I don't know how to, like, just take deep breaths. Like in the midst, if you're like
for real, like no lie. Deep breaths, like labor. No, I mean labor. Like like I'm telling you, they work.
Yeah, truly.
They help. Like for someone who knows, who's been there, who tried it, deep breaths work wonders for us for anal sex. Wonders.
Yes, absolutely.
So, any other tips you have?
When it comes to if you're doing anal fingering, again, like don't be afraid of the other parts around the body. Like obviously the perineum, which is also known as the taint, so the space between the butthole and either the vulva or the scrotum, is extremely sensitive. So again, like work up to it, arouse the body, tickle that area, massage that area, really like give it some attention before you be like, I'm just gonna put fingers in. No, play with the taint, massage that taint, lick the taint, do it all. Like there's all those other spaces in between. Honestly, the entire undercarriage of the human body, I think the whole thing was made for pleasure, is my personal belief. Play with all of it. Every single inch, ounce, square foot should be stimulated, like given some type of attention, whether that's being caressed, licked, sucked, however you want to do it. Like give it that attention. Massage them booty cheeks. If you really want to help somebody relax, massages do wonders at that. Like I fall asleep during every time I get a damn massage. Start with that. Give your partner a full body massage. Go get that massage oil. Warm it up. Rub them down. Have them so close to sleep, and then wake them up with
Wake them up.
Amounts of pleasure.
Yeah, wake them up. Don't do while they're asleep. That's not giving consent.
Yes.
We need you to
wake them up. We don't want them to go to sleep. We just want them relaxed almost to the point of sleep.
Yeah, you gotta spell stuff out nowadays. You can like
you do.
I was on that Ashley Kyle Patreon, and she said that you can go to sleep and then I stick it in. No. We did not say that.
Not at all.
It didn't say that. So I know you teach a fingering 101 class, right? Or do you have one coming up? Or
I will have a variety of courses coming up over the fall, winter-ish time. I like to take summers and just be drunk and float the river.
okay.
But yes, so starting in probably like late September through the end of the year, I will have a variety of different ones from fingering 101, ass eating. So if you're like, Jave, I want to spread them cheeks and go to town, hit me up, amongst a wide variety of other classes as well. So if you were like, I want to learn more, I want to go into 2023 before the world ends and be like an absolute in the bedroom, hit me up. I'm your girl.
And tell them, give them their website or wherever they can find those classes when it comes out.
Yes. So if you go to my website, themillennialsexpert.com, you can sign up for my email newsletter. And I will be sending out a newsletter with all of my workshops for the remainder of the year, starting in September. And then on social media, on TikTok or Instagram at Millennial Sexpert, and then on TikTok, but like it's really touch and go on if I can actually like promo stuff because TikTok hates me. But
me too.
Sexpert, it's a time.
Yeah.
But following me on Instagram, for sure you will see everything. But the email newsletter is the safest bet because I don't censor myself. So if you really want the guts, that's where to find it.
Great. So if you had one tip to leave people, one lasting tip in terms of fingering, or one takeaway, what would it be?
My one biggest tip is that your fingers should explore every single part of your partner's undercarriage, whether that is their vulva, their penis, or their anus. Like you should be able to like describe that to a police sketch artist so well because you fully explore them while giving them worlds of pleasure. You're like, actually, you know what? Their left inner labia is a little bit longer than the right, but not longer than the outer labia. And it's just like only like 2 millimeters in between the urethra and the vaginal opening. Like you need to know them so well because you explored all of that. You touched it all. You should know it well enough that if you saw it in a lineup, you're like, oh, I knew that with my eyes closed. That's the one. I didn't touch that dick. The frenulum like curves a little bit at the top. That's the one.
To have someone know your genitalia that well is like amazing, because you know that they actually have been studying you and they've been paying attention and they've been like and they are into it, because some people they're there for themselves just to get over with. Man, they don't really care, you know what I mean? Let's be honest, they don't care. But to have someone who can be like, yeah, I know if I touch this right labia like this is what's gonna happen. Like, god damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
send me one deal, boy. Man, I be
those are the ones you don't let go of. Those are the ones that you lock down. Like if your sneaky link is like this, yo, you need to
be your main link. Why they sneaking?
Like, you need to cuff them hardcore.
Your main link. My God, I don't think I've had. I don't think I've had a partner that was that. I had some that were close, right? Who actually gave a fuck and knew what, and they knew me and knew what it was. God dang. Yeah. And even with me, like myself included, I'm not always as attentive or always I'm not paying attention as much as I should to my partner either. I've been guilty of that too. So I need to do better.
I think we all do, but as long as you're like actively like, you know what, I could take more note and pay more attention to them. As long as you make an effort at some point, like you're doing better than like 90% of the people out here sleeping with people.
Yes, and that matters.
It does.
This was cool. So again, tell people where you can find on Instagram.
Millennial Sexpert.
Millennial Sexpert. All right, hold on. Stop recording.